So I'm curious too about when you do, and you said you never really got any negative reactions from going in school. Did people become were kids like kind of overwhelmed a little bit? Were there ever those kind of reactions like, oh my gosh, this is
Not
really...
only kids, but adults. Not only kids, but adults. Many
Whoa.
adults become very overwhelmed. And that's white or black, because I have to tell you, to be perfectly honest with you, our tours are very frank, and we don't pull any punches. We don't want people leaving here thinking that slavery was a good thing and that these were happy people and they just did what they had to do. No, slavery was brutal. It was horrible. Yeah. These people were literally brutalized and in many cases worked to death, So I remind people that you've come to the Museum of Slavery, that the word slavery is in our jingle. This is not the Museum of Butterflies and Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are actual whips that were used to beat the slaves.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, you also mentioned about the George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter protests. There's a connection, obviously, with the slave catching patrols in the early days, correct?
Absolutely. This is an actual photo. Sorry for my lighting here.
No, it's fine.
Showing you how that officer stood on his neck for almost 10 minutes and watched him die. But it was not unusual, because during lynchings, you had these white people who looked directly in the camera with no fear of retribution, because they knew that nobody was going to come after them. Many of them were law enforcement officers themselves. So though much has changed, much has remained the same. But Steve, is it you said? Is that your name, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. These are actual slave badges, slave tags. A slave actually had to have permission to be off the plantation, but he was often leased out to work at another plantation the following day, but he had to walk at night to get to that plantation in the morning. And they would have white men who self-designated themselves to become slave patrollers. And they would stop them and say, show me your tag or paper, nigger. And if you didn't have one, you could be beaten, sold back into slavery, or worse, killed.
Oh my God.
That was during slavery. And this started, the slave patrols was the start of American policing.
Oh my
Today,
God.
we have laws in the book called stop and frisk that allow police officers, white or black, to stop anybody who they deem suspicious. And most of those people are black and brown men. Yeah. And we've watched those altercations in many situations become deadly. So again, though much has changed, much has remained the same. Here's some more slave tags and overseer tags. And they didn't always use a white man. Sometimes the master, the plantation owner, would use his most dutiful slave to watch over, to oversee his slaves. And he was far more brutal than many of the white men, because he wanted to prove to that slave master that he was loyal to him.
Yeah, I noticed that one of the photos you showed with the crowd standing around the lynch mob was in Coatesville.
That's right, just outside of Philadelphia.
My God.
So not all, which goes to prove that not all of these horrendous acts happen in the South. Many of them happen in the North.
Right.
That was Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
Oh my
God.
This is because it's much easier. No, because it's much easier to sort of point the finger down south and say, oh, it was really bad down there.
Yeah.
And redirect people's attention.
Absolutely. This is triple lynchings of 3 men who were lynched together,
Maryland.
Yep.
Oh my God.